And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer, and it's Big Sky time. This is season 2, episode number 4, Getting Right to It. That's the name of the episode. We're going to be reviewing it, discussing it, and breaking it down for you right now. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let's start with what we typically.
It was
Hmm? Yeah,
Gettin.
I know. I had to when I was preparing the thumbnail. I had to type that. um, but yeah, let's start with the ending because my God, what an ending! There was a moment where I sat back and said, "This is clever." Like for Biggs, I was like, as far as the way everything was coming together, I was like, "Holy shit!" There was some thought in this. We basically everyone converges to one area. Everything is all coming together uh, as far as the drug money, the drugs and the money that was missing. And so basically, you have Cassie and Jenny heading to get Harvey because they know he's dirty. He has Bridger and Madison. You have Harp and Max outside. Well, I don't know what their plan is. You've got Dono in the woods with an assault rifle. He opens fire on Cassie and Jenny as they approach. You've got Ren getting ready to go in the house to kill Harvey because he's basically gonna take the fall for everything. All this shit is going on literally at the exact same time. Um, I don't know how the hell this all gets resolved in the next episode. Very excited to see how the next episode opens. But yeah, yeah, all that's happening.
Well, the biggest question I had was my assumption was that Ren was going to try and make it look like suicide, make it look like he was finally got found out and took himself out of the equation. And because of that, now you have witnesses. So now you have Bridger, you have the whole family there, you have his sister and Max and Harp there. So now you have witnesses to that. So now they can't make it look like it's a suicide, but they can still make it look like he was involved in some drug stuff and he got caught up and he died. But now the investigation is not going to end with Harvey. If they made it a suicide, it could be it was a crooked cop doing some crooked stuff and they could pin everything on him. But now they can't with all the witnesses there. Now that,
With Dono
yeah,
unloading on, yeah, now, yeah, it's escalated to you're right, 100%.
but it was entertaining. It was
Oh, yes.
like, I had this whole sequence how they were going to wrap it up and just pin it on him. And then, Cassie and Jenny were going to have to figure out that it wasn't a suicide, that maybe it runs deep. So I figured they were going to stretch this out a little bit longer than they are. But like I said, I think that the drug story arc is just going to be the first, part of the season. And then they'll introduce another thing. And the overarching story is the Ronald stuff. So I do like that they're keeping this pace quicker with the drug stuff because I do think that it's going to tie into other stories and they're just going to keep kind of building off of it. But the fact that it's been so fast paced, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Now we get introduced to Dietrich, who's sort of, I guess, a crime guy in that local area. He's the one Travis is undercover working around, and he says a few. Well, he's suspicious of Travis, so that's one thing. He's sort of wondering if he's loyal or is he undercover or whatever. But the most interesting thing is he mentions the fact that this cartel is rooted in Vancouver. And so that got me, yet again, I brought it up before, and then, we were sort of like, well, probably not. But is this going to tie into the other, is this syndicate all the same thing, just different parts of it? But the fact that he mentioned that they're rooted there, that's where they come from, immediately got me like, huh, you know,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, that everything seems to all lead up there.
Well, yeah, because they've mentioned the Canadian cartel or whatever, the Canadian syndicate, and this drug cartel is from Canada. And I'm sure there's not just one. Shit, there's what's that show called? Did you ever watch any of it? It's called like something Bad Blood or something Blood, and it's got Sam Coates, or I think it's Sam Coates from Sons of Anarchy, and it's basically in the '80s when Montreal was a huge.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. No, I never checked it out.
I
What?
watched probably the first like 4 or 5 episodes, and then I started watching something else. I didn't stop watching it because it was bad. I just literally forgot about it because I was watching during COVID and I was not doing shit else. So I was watching a lot of stuff, but it was great, and it just shows how many different drug cartels there were in Canada in the '80s. So, there being a drug cartel and a human trafficking syndicate, it's not above it being multiple different people, but it does feel like they're pointing us all in the same direction now.
It's going to end up like John Wick, where it's just this massive underworld that rules everything, and you have all these different little factions.
They're trading in coins. And
Yeah, I love how quick going from Dietrich completely was suspicious of Travis to the point where he was physically going out to seek out and see with his own eyes. Oh, where is he staying? What's he up to? To being like, you're my right hand man. I need you to cover my back.
yeah,
I was like, you're quick to trust, man.
well, and I was dying laughing at that part because when Travis stood up, he's this undercover cop, and I don't think that you look at budgets. When you look at John Wick, have you seen any of the videos of him going through all the gun training?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the amount of stuff that they go through to hold the guns and reload and do like basically front flips into like a reloading position. Like it's crazy the amount of training that they go through. But as soon as Travis stood up, the way he was holding his gun and how uncomfortable he looked, like immediately I was like, well, I don't think that they went through the same training as all the John Wick people. It just made me laugh how he looked like the one guy who spent $30 and went and got his handgun carry permit class and thinks that he spends an hour at the range once a year and he's a badass. That's what I felt like when I watched him.
The we got let's go talk about Woods guy real quick. We had him at the beginning stalking Harp. He really hasn't done anything. She's worried about him. They don't know what's going on. Clearly he's important, or it's going to there's got to be a payoff with this character. Could it be the beginning of the next episode? Could he come in and save the day, or is he working with a group? Is he on his own? Is he just some guy who saw something and is really trying to help? I don't know. We bring it up every week because it's like, what is the point of this character? What's going on?
His name is Creevy, I think, according to IMDb.
Creevy?
Yeah. Which is even greater. Like Creevy. Like, just sounds like somebody who's got a really shitty beard and
Hey.
long greasy hair and
Hey.
I was not poking fun at you, Brian.
All right, man.
I was immediately thinking of a Sons of Anarchy character extra. But like it just I am curious as to what his role is, because my initial thought when I saw him was I feel like it's not a red herring necessarily, but they're trying to lead us in this direction that he's this bad guy doing some bad shit, and I don't really feel that he is. I mean, I feel like they'll keep trying to push us that direction, but I feel like he's some weirdo guy who's living off the grid out in the woods, and he's trying to protect them. He just is very socially awkward and doesn't know how to address them.
That's the vibe I was getting as well. Yeah, it's probably as simple as that, where he'll just come in at some point and help them. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I was legitimately going back to the beginning, or excuse me, the ending. I was so shocked that all these storylines sort of came to a point now. We're only 4 episodes in, and I sure thought they were going to stretch the kids having this drugs and money a lot longer. I mean, hell, maybe they still will. We don't know how this is going to resolve, but because we had all these, T-Lock's going to take it and he's going to start selling drugs, or do this and that. Like, I had all these ideas of where they were going with it, and that wasn't the case at all.
Well, I think as of right now, I just looked it up on IMDb just to see what it would say as far as episodes and stuff. It looks like they've only season 2 right now is only 5 episodes. So they're taking a break right now from the 21st to November 11th. So the next episode doesn't come out till the 11th. But I haven't looked up what the rest of their schedule is. So it could be on this breakneck speed because they may only do 13 episodes a season or something like that.
I could see that. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name of the show. The Good Place. It was only on for 4 seasons, but each season was only 13 episodes. So even big network TV sometimes is starting to go the way of the streaming, where they're doing less episodes instead of the 26 episode seasons and shit, which I think is better. It tightens up the writing a lot. You don't get all the filler episodes. I think it helps tremendously to keep the seasons a little bit shorter. I mean, I do like there are certain shows that I love. Even The Office, it, did 23 episode seasons. Some of the episodes weren't great, and I think that even a show like that, where there's not a big overarching story most of the time, that keeping the season shorter like that does strengthen up the writing a lot.
Yeah. I it does definitely. The Mark and Jerry. So I had a vibe last week, and I said it. I think it was last week, no, it was the week before because he wasn't in last week's. But the whole little dinner where it's like, oh, he's into Cassie, and they had drinks or whatever. But I was like, I don't know. It feels like they're trying to set. There's something going on between these two, or at least at least Jerry's into him, or it felt like there was something there. But I was like, oh, okay, no, he's trying to pursue Cassie. He's just looking for advice. And then we had this episode, and we initially had the one scene where he comes to the office, and Jerry seems a little irritated, like, oh, of course you're just here for Cassie. And then he's like, no. They go out hunting for Ronald. She gives a great speech about why she's still pursuing Ronald and all the horrible. We forget how horrible of a monster Ronald really is. All the terrible things he's done, and she's like, look, he has to be stopped. But then she gives Mark a kiss, and it was like, oh, maybe it was a friendly thing. I was like, no, there's something there. At least on her side, she's into him. Whether or not he's into her, or it is Cassie, or they're trying to build some kind of love triangle, I don't know. But I knew that it felt like they were setting something up with that scene a couple weeks ago, and this episode seems to have continued that with those two characters.
I started talking I was muted. I think that, to me, I love the scenes with Mark and Cassie. I think that their chemistry, and we've complained about Cassie and Jenny's chemistry together. Although this episode, it was less grating. Like, it was actually better, but it was more of a joking kind of thing. Whereas they weren't trying to. I just felt less like they focused more on just banter as opposed to relationship building. And I liked it a lot better this episode than I have in the past. But Mark and Cassie have been great together. I've loved all their dialogue. I've loved their kind of chemistry back and forth. But I think steering it this direction could be more interesting because Cassie being so focused on Ronald and being focused on this, it would help her it would centrally focus her character. Whereas right now we got her focusing on Ronald. We got her focusing on the case with Jenny. We got her focusing on Mark. I think it's too much for her character. It just kind of thins her out a little bit. It makes it to where if she's not in a scene, it feels like it's taking you out of it a little bit. Oh shit. But you got, if Cassie's in a scene, but Mark's not there, then where's their relationship going? You start to question other parts of the show if she's not in the show because she's being spread so thin between everyone. So now you team him up with Jerry, and I think that's you create this sub story. You create a secondary cast of main characters, and I think that's a good route to go.
And that's exactly sort of what it's been because he hasn't been. I don't think he's had any screen time with Cassie in 2 or 3 episodes at all. And there was one scene that did annoy me where when they were at the place, it was it was not quite in the middle of the episode, and uh, it was Cassie, Jenny, and Jerry, and then they're like, "Hey, we need to talk." And then she like looks at Jerry. Jerry's like, "Go, basically, go away." I was like, if I was Jerry, I'd be like, "Fuck you!" Like, we're part of a team. What do you mean, go away? You know what I mean? Like, it was weird. I could understand like all the cops around. They didn't want them to hear, but no, those two needed to go off. Now, yeah, it was about Travis and everything. I get it, but it was sort of like you're not part of this crew. It was a weird moment. At least that's how it came off to me. But I do like the Mark Jerry stuff. I'd be curious to see where it goes.
Me too.
But yeah. And then there's my guy, who do look forward to talking about every single week. My guys, I should say, Ronald and Wolf Legowski.
I'm gonna
Not
call him by his full name.
the the choke collar, man, a new little element added to the episode. That first of all, I got anxiety watching that shit. Like the idea of having something like that on me, that was nightmarish. Um, yeah, I hated that. Something that could just choke you at any time, but hell of a tool. And you know, Ronald has it on his neck, and he's being defiant still. And we get a couple of it being used on him several times. But what was most interesting about those scenes were the fact that he's starting to bond. Well, first of all, we learn a little bit about Wolf's motivation. He feels the Legarsky name has been tainted, and he's trying to cleanse it. And by helping Ronald, that's part of this process. He also now tell me if I'm mistaken, but it sounded like he somehow did he communicate with the syndicate in some way? Like I don't know, there was some lines. I wasn't sure if he was just saying that he's protecting Ronald by hiding him, or he's reached out to the syndicate. I was a little confused by that scene.
I don't think that he has, and the only reason I don't think he has is because I don't. What was Wolfgang's wife's name?
I could find it from last week's notes.
But when they're talking back and forth, she is constantly hammering how bad
Agatha.
I thought it was Amy. I knew it was an Amy, but I couldn't remember. But they, when they were talking, all she did was slam Rick. She was talking about how bad of a person he was and how Rick was the one that kind of brought Ronald down with him and made him into the horrible person he is. Although we know that that's not true because Ronald was made a horrible person by his mother and clearly some underlying disorders he's got. Because good Lord, that dude is jacked up. But when you look at it through her point of view, I think that her influence on Wolfgang is that they're awful people and they're trying to, Black Snake Moan them. They're trying to Samuel L. Jackson them and make them into better people. So I don't think that they would contact them. And I think that they're just trying to keep them safe from the syndicate because I think they're aware of what Rick was into. Like, how far he went down.
We also got some bonding between the two over, he's talking about his mother and, Wolfgang talking about it being a disappointment. Oh, Rick was the one that mother loved. And, Ronald start talking about his mom. So they start bonding and you start to see, okay, yeah, they both had similar weird shit with their childhood that led to them being where they are. And we get the moment where he gets to be, it's 2 for Tuesday, so he gets to have cereal and talk to Scarlett. But when that happens, she's sort of like, look, just go with this shit for now. Quit fighting it. And yeah, yet again, another storyline. I'm like, man, where could this possibly go? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I am really curious as to the overarching where it's headed because I'm still not 100% sure. I really don't know. But I've said it almost every time how much I that's my favorite thing about this show is that I'm not 100% sure where it's headed. I, I like mysteries and I like guessing stuff. So even when I guess wrong, I'm okay with that.
Um, but yeah, that's about all I have to say. I left a few things out because they were resolved and there was no real point to go into them. I mean, you had the Tanya stuff. Basically, they had her. She decided she would agree to set up Harvey, and that was that. Um, I doubt that character will be around much longer, but
I was looking up the amount of views for the show, going because I was just curious as to what the ratings are. Because I looked up, um, they said season two. They haven't released how many episodes it is because they're currently shooting it now, which is I think the delays because they said that they were having COVID delays and stuff, and they're shooting all the way up to April 2022. So I think it's going to be probably 13, 16 episodes again. But I was looking at viewership, like how many it had. In season one, had total views, and that counted like DVRs and streaming and everything else. Had 8 million, and averaged like 7.5 million, 7 million per episode last
yeah.
season. And then this season, just watching it live, it says viewers they're at right at 3 million. So there's 3 million people watching it on network television,
Hmm.
which is not bad.
And you said that they're taking a break starting now.
Yeah, the next
So,
episode won't air until Veterans Day area.
okay.
That's the 11th.
Okay. So yeah, there won't be a review next week for this. We got what do we got coming up? Dexter is in about a week.
November 17th.
7th, yeah. 7th. Um so yeah, that's exciting.
Yes.
And then we talked about it. I don't know if we're gonna do it, but we're probably gonna do it. Wheel of Time is coming up in November
You better. Shit.
as well. Yeah. Um but yeah, we appreciate anything else?
No, not that I can think of. I did want to build up. Well, it is something I thought of while I said it. There's nothing I could think of. Is like you were saying the choke collar.
Yeah.
It was crazy because it looked like I'm trying to think of. It's just like a metal cable, like that you like strap something down with, like a not quite like a toe strap, but there's metal cables that hold like a truck gate on, and that's what it looked like. And then it just has like a little gear on it that just spins it tighter. And I was like, oh goddamn. And like you said, it made you anxious. You're just like, oh.
Imagine clicking it to choke and then the battery dies in the remote. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. How are you going to get enough slack to like cut it off with some wire cutters or something?
it's a, yeah. It's a,
You're not.
um, but yeah, we'll. I guess there will be no Big Sky review next week, but there will be content. I actually have an idea of what we'll be reviewing for next weekend for the Halloween holiday. So look out for that, and yeah, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.